Mind over lifespan, how your mental health shapes how long you live. Today we're exploring something most people never hear from their doctor. Your thoughts, feelings, and mental well-being can literally add or subtract years from your life. For decades, we separated mental and physical health, but science shows they're one system. Stress, anxiety, depression, they don't just stay in your head. They shape your hormones, your immune system, even how cells age. In this presentation, you will discover how conditions like chronic anxiety or depression can shorten lifespan, but also how powerful traits like purpose and optimism can protect you. By the end, you will have practical tools to protect your mental health and your longevity goals. Let's take a closer look at something that too many people overlook, the very real physical impact that mental health conditions like depression and anxiety have on your lifespan. When we think of anxiety or depression, we often think about emotions, sadness, worry, panic, lack of motivation. But the truth is these conditions go far beyond feelings. They create a cascade of biological stress that over time physically wears down the body. Long-term studies have found that major depression can reduce life expectancy by 10 to 15 years. That's not a trivial number. It's on par with other major risk factors like heavy smoking or obesity. And it's not just depression. Chronic anxiety disorders, including generalized anxiety disorders, panic disorders, and post-traumatic stress disorder are all linked to higher rates of heart attack, strokes, and premature death. A 2011 meta-analysis published in the British Journal of Psychiatry pulled data from over 300,000 people and found that people with depression had a 50% higher risk of dying from any cause compared to people without depression. Women in 2011 meta-analysis, a large study in the British Journal of Psychiatry pulled data that from women over severe 300,000 people twice as likely found to die of heart disease than women had a 50% higher even risk after adjusting for lifestyle factors like smoking compared to people without depression. Women in the stress pathway, cortisol, and chronic alarm. So why does this happen? It all comes down to chronic stress activation. Think of your brain stress system as a fire alarm. In a real emergency, that alarm helps you. It triggers the release of cortisol and adrenaline to help you survive danger. But when your mind perceives constant threat, like excessive worry, fear, or feelings of hopelessness, that alarm system stays switched on, even when there is no real danger. This keeps your body flooded with cortisol, the main stress hormone. Over time, excess cortisol results in damaged blood vessels, raising your risks of hardened arteries and high blood pressure, increased belly fat, which is linked to diabetes and heart disease, raises inflammation. Your body's defense system goes from helpful to harmful when it's chronically active. Weakness from immune system, making you more likely to get sick and slower to heal. So mental stress literally gets under your skin. It becomes physical wear and tear. The cellular impact will aging from inside out. One of the most fascinating discoveries in the past 20 years is how depression and anxiety speed up aging in the cellular level. Scientists took a telomeres to measure this. Telomeres are like the plastic tips at the ends of shoelaces. They protect your DNA during cell division. Every time a cell divides, telomeres gets a little shorter. When they get too short, the cells can't divide properly anymore and aging accelerates. Chronic stress, depression, and severe anxiety have all been linked to shorter telomeres. For example, people with long-term major depression often have telomeres that look 7 to 10 years older than their actual age. One landmark study by Nobel Prize winner Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn found that caregivers of chronically ill family members who experience high emotional stress had significantly shorter telomeres than people under less stress. This means their cells were aging faster, right down to their DNA. So mental health conditions don't just affect biology directly, they also shape behavior that impact lifespan. For example, people with depression may smoke more, drink excessively, or overeat. They may exercise less, sleep poorly, and skip medical appointments. Untreated depression can make it harder to manage other chronic conditions like diabetes or hypertension. These lifestyle effects add up, increasing the risk of heart disease, stroke, obesity, and other killers. There's also a tragic direct risk. Severe depression increases the risk of suicide. Worldwide, suicide is among the leading cause of death for young adults and middle-aged people. In the US alone, over 48,000 people die by suicide each year, and millions more attempted. Early detection, treatment, and support can dramatically lower this risk, but stigma and lack of access still keep many people from getting help. Bottom line is this is biological, not just emotional. So when we say mental health affects lifespan, it's not an abstract idea. It's a proven, measurable biological reality. The good news is, just as chronic stress, depression can shorten your life, effective treatment can help restore balance. Therapy, medication, lifestyle changes, and building social support can lower cortisol, protect telomeres, and break the cycle of chronic stress. When you protect your mental health, you're not just feeling better. You are buying back years of healthy life. That's the hidden truth that too few people talk about, but it's one of the most important insights you can learn about longevity. Now, let's break down one of the most fascinating and overlooked truth about the human body. Your thoughts don't just stay in your head, they echo through your entire body. When you're under stress, your brain doesn't just think stress, it commands your whole body to react. Inside your brain is the hypothalamus, a tiny but mighty command center that talks to your pituitary gland, which then talks to your adrenal gland sitting on top of your kidneys. This system is called hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or HPA axis for short. When you sense a threat, real or imagined, your hypothalamus sends an urgent signal, danger. Your adrenal glands flood your bloodstream with cortisol and adrenaline. Your fight or flight hormones. This is incredibly useful if you need to slam on the brake in traffic or run away from danger. But what happens when the threat isn't a lion, but constant emails, worries, financial stress, relationship conflict, or chronic anxiety? Your alarm system stays switched on, day after day, year after year. And that's where trouble begins. A little bit of cortisol keeps you alert. Too much for too long is like acid on your system. Over time, high cortisol raises your blood sugar, putting you at risk for insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. Signals from your body to store belly fat, especially around your organs, which raises your risk for heart disease. Damages blood vessels, raising your blood pressure and stiffening arteries. disrupts your sleep, which raises cortisol even more, a vicious cycle. Makes you crave high sugar, high fat foods, feeding the cycle again. The bigger villain of all of this is inflammation. When you're injured or fighting infection, inflammation in your body's healing system sending immune cells to repair damage and fight invaders. But when you are chronically stressed, your brain tricks your body into staying in low-grade emergency mode. And this keeps level of inflammation markers like CRP or IL-6, interleukin-6 constantly elevated. Over time, this silent fire damages healthy tissues and sets the stage for many age-related diseases like heart disease. Chronic inflammation helps plaques to build up inside arteries, raising heart attack and stroke risk. Diabetes. Inflammation worsens insulin resistance. Autoimmune diseases. Stress-related inflammation can trigger flare-ups in conditions like rheumatoid arthritis or lupus. Cancers. Some cancers are linked to chronic inflammatory environments. So when stress lingers in the mind, it quietly burns through your tissues over time. Another overlooked truth is chronic stress weakens your immune system's precision. You become more prone to infection like colds, flu, and even COVID-19 complications. Wound healing more slowly. Vaccines can even be less effective when your stress is high. A stressed body is too busy fighting phantom threats to fight real ones well. Now let's zoom in even further to your cellular clock. Inside every cell, your chromosomes are capped by telomeres, which act like protective tips on shoelaces. They keep your DNA from unraveling when cells divide. Each time your cells divide, telomeres naturally shortens a little. That's normal aging. But chronic stress and high cortisol speed up shortening, meaning your cells age faster. A Nobel Peace Prize winner discovery in 2009 confirmed this link. People under chronic stress, like caregivers of sick family members or those with untreated depression, have shorter telomeres than their peers. It's as if your stress is hitting fast forward on your biological clock. Research shows people under severe chronic stress can have a biological age that's 7 to 10 years older than their real age, simply because of worn down telomeres. It all connects. So let's put it all together now. Your brain senses stress, your body pumps out cortisol and adrenaline, your inflammation stays switched on, your immune system weakens, your DNA caps, which is your telomeres, fray faster. Over years or decades, this chain reaction raises your risk for heart disease, stroke, diabetes, autoimmune flare-ups, infection, and faster aging. So what's the good news? The hopeful truth. The damage isn't permanent. The biology is reversible. Science shows that when you lower chronic stress through therapy, meditation, better sleep, exercise, and strong social connection, you can lower cortisol, lower inflammation marker, strengthen immunity, even slow down or partially reverse telomere shortening. In other words, your biology listens not just to your stress, but also to your peace, your purpose, and your self-care. So when people say it's all in your head, they're partly right, but not the way they mean. It starts in your head, but it echoes through every cell of your body. When you manage stress, you don't just feel better, you age slower, heal better, and protect your future. That's the real power of mastering your mind. Now let's shift gear to something powerful and positive. If stress, anxiety, and depression can shorten our lifespan, what can protect it? It turns out two of the strongest shields we have don't come from a pill, they come from the mind. Purpose and optimism. First, let's talk about purpose. Purpose is your sense that life has meaning, that what you do matters, that you are needed, that you belong to something larger than yourselves. And purpose isn't just philosophy, it's biology. A landmark study called Health and Retirement Study, which followed thousands of older adults in the US, found that people with a strong sense of purpose lived up to 7 years longer than those without. Purpose calms your stress system. People with purpose show lower cortisol levels, lower chronic inflammation, and healthier heart rate patterns. Purpose improves sleep. When your days feel meaningful, your nights are more restful. Purpose keeps you moving. You are more likely to get up, connect with people, and stay active when you feel you are needed. And here's a fascinating detail. Having a purpose can even help your genes express themselves in a healthier way. Some studies show that people with strong purpose have lower levels of pro-inflammatory gene activities, meaning their cells stay calmer too. So some real world proof? Well, the blue zones. Look at the world's longest living people who are at the blue zones. These are communities like Okinawa in Japan, Sardinia in Italy, and Loma Linda in California. People in Okinawa have a word called ikigai, meaning reason for being. It's their deep sense that every day has value, whether it's caring for a garden, cooking for a family, or helping a neighbor. Studies show that Okinawans will, with a strong ikigai, live longer and healthier with lower rates of heart disease and dementia. So purpose isn't just a feel-good idea. It's a proven longevity tool used by real people all over the world. Next, let's look at optimism. The belief that good things are possible, that the future can be better than today. A 2019 Harvard study followed over 70,000 people found that the most optimistic people lived 10 to 15% longer than the least optimistic. Optimists were also more likely to reach age 85 and beyond, not because they never faced hardship, but because they expected they could handle it. So optimism protects us in several ways. Better stress recovery, optimistic brains recover faster than stress, cortisol levels drop sooner, and body returns to balance more easily. Optimists are more likely to exercise, eat balanced diets, avoid smoking, and stick with medical advice. Research shows optimists have strong antibody responses and lower levels of chronic inflammation. Optimism reduces insomnia and worry that keeps people up at night. Put simply, hope heals. So consider this real example. During COVID-19 pandemic, researchers found that people who stayed more optimistic, even when facing fear and uncertainty, had lower levels of inflammatory markers like IL-6 and CRP than those who felt helpless. Optimism didn't make the stress disappear, but it changed how their bodies responded to it. Here's the best part. Purpose and optimism don't work alone. They reinforce each other. People who feel their lives have meaning naturally expect better things for the future. And people who are hopeful are more likely to find meaning in what they do. Together, they create a buffer against stress, loneliness, and unhealthy choices. They calm the nervous system, protect the immune system, and slow down the biological wear and tear that chronic stress creates. Some people think I am just not an optimist by nature. But here's the truth. Optimism is partly genetic, but it's also learnable. Psychologists have shown that simple practices can build a more optimistic, purpose-driven mindset. Gratitude journaling. Write down 3 things you have been thankful for every day. Act of kindness, helping others, boost your sense of meaning. Take 5 minutes to imagine your best possible future. Studies show that this trains your brain to expect good things. Strong relationships strengthen both purpose and hope. These small habits literally rewires your brain toward resilience and longer life. So while stress, anxiety, and depression speed up aging, purpose and optimism do the opposite. They act like a biological seatbelt, keeping you safer when life gets bumpy. They're not just nice ideas, they are practical tools to add healthy years to your life. So keep this in mind. Your mental state isn't just about how you feel today. It's about how many healthy years you might add tomorrow. So take Dan Buettner's research on Blue Zone, the world's longest living communities. People in Okinawa, Sardinia, and Loma Linda don't just eat well and stay active, they have a deep social connections and a powerful sense of purpose called ikigai in Japan. Studies on Holocaust survival show that those who found meaning and connection despite trauma often lived long lives. And in clinics today, doctors see patients with similar lab results, but widely different outcomes depending on their mental outlook. Mindset matters more than most people ever realize. Now, treat mental health seriously. Depression and anxiety aren't weakness. They are real medical conditions that deserve care. Talk to a professional. Move your body. Exercise reduces depression, anxiety, and stress hormones, and boost brain chemicals that protect your mind. Prioritize sleep. Chronic insomnia raises cortisol. Aim for 7 to 9 hours. Connect. Loneliness is as risky as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Prioritize friendship and community. Practice optimism. Studies show you can train your brain toward optimism using gratitude journaling. Refrain from negative thoughts and visualize positive outcomes. Find your purpose. Volunteer, mentor, learn, teach. Even small acts build meanings. Stay curious. Keep learning and growing. A brain engaged with life buffers stress. Your mind is not separate from your body. It's your greatest ally in living, not just longer, but better. Thank you for joining me. Your mind is powerful medicine. Treat it with care, protect it with purpose, and train it with optimism so you can live not just longer, but stronger. Stay well, inside and out.
Thanks for watching. Please follow us on our social media accounts.